Well, I thought I would actually get brave and come on here and actually do a video because I haven't done one for a long time, for various reasons. The main reason why I stopped, I suppose, doing videos was because I had to switch channels. Well, I say switch channels. I had a problem uploading from the computer onto Redbush T1, and I had to do another account which is called Isabel Parr, and I've just got a load of music videos on there, bands that I've been to see that I've recorded, local bands. And I wouldn't want the people that watch those videos, which are local people that I know in real world, listening to me talking about all this kind of weirdo stuff, or not weirdo stuff as the case may be, but you know what I mean. It's different people, isn't it, for different things. And also I had to stop really doing Sky videos because it was very difficult to upload them. Anyway, I won't waffle about that anymore. I just want to sort of say that's why I've not been doing any videos for a long time. And then I've been preoccupied with other things in my life. But I've done a little experiment, and I think this will upload off this. I'm doing this on an iPad, and this should upload directly to the right channel. So then I thought, well, you know, what message, if anything, could I say to everybody, or anybody that's watching this video? What is the lesson to have learned? What have I learned in my time since I last did a video? Well, it might come as it might sound awful to people, but I'm afraid I've had to learn that you have to look after number one. And I don't mean that in a, well, it sounds horrible, doesn't it? Looking after number one, it sounds selfish. But I have definitely come to the conclusion that if you're the kind of person who gives away too much energy and helps other people too much, it just depletes you and they don't think anything of you anyway. I mean, I just was thinking about this before I did this video. You know, and there's definitely two types of women. Well, there's probably loads more than that types of women in this world. But me and a lot of my friends, I'm going to tell you how I see it. Me and a lot of the friends that I resonate with, I would say, in the main, because you do obviously you do attract people that are similar to you. And I would say in the main, me and a lot of my girlfriends, well, all of them in fact, are the kind of women who have just been far too helpful. You know, I mean, I think women obviously have to be unselfish when it comes to the kids, but even then, there's limits there. If you just give too much, the lesson I've learned, and this is what I want to share with you, that ultimately you have to get yourself in alignment with yourself. You have to put boundaries in place. You have to think happy thoughts, keep yourself up. And that's not selfish either, because if you actually keep yourself up and you're positive, then you're more in alignment with yourself, you're going to make better decisions that are going to help other people around you. And as I was saying, there's two kinds of women. So me and a lot of my friends that I resonate with, you know, we probably have been far too helpful. Generally speaking, you know, we've been far too helpful with our kids, with other friends. With men particularly, and actually you don't get thought of very well at all. I had a dream last night. This is what made me think about this, to think, well, yes, actually, I thought, have I got anything to even say? And I thought, well, I've got something to say. I had a dream whereby someone was being over helpful with me, and whilst it gave me a good feeling because it made me feel, you know, nice to think that somebody was being that helpful for me. In a way, it made me think, well, what are you doing that for? It's too much. You have to back off from people and give them, you know, the space to be reciprocal towards you. That's just generally a fact. And as I was saying about the two kinds of women in this world, there's the over-helpful kind, which we thought we were doing ourselves, or not ourselves, we thought we were being good people by being over-helpful, over-friendly. Well, not over-friendly. I mean, you know, I don't rush up to complete strangers and sort of like, you know, be over-friendly with them. But just being just too nice to people. It just doesn't get you anywhere. You end up being depleted. And as I say, the two kinds of women in this world. Then there's the other kind of women that basically get a lot more thought of, and they're the ones who look after themselves, particularly when it comes to sort of men's situations. I mean, I've got this book, Why Men Marry Bitches and Why Men Love Bitches. And it's not really about being a bitch. It's just about making sure that you make sure that your priorities are number one. And that's very hard to do for people who've been brought up. I mean, I was brought up in the 60s. I know I don't know that old, but I was brought up in the 60s, you know, listening to stories where you had to be a good girl. You know, Mrs. Do Unto Others As You Would Do to Yourself was a book that my mother used to read to me. And it just doesn't get you anywhere. And obviously, I'm still helpful with my children. You've got to go the extra mile with your children. But even then, you've got to put boundaries in place. You've got to let them know that there are certain things that you expect them to do. And that's good for people to know that. People respect you then when you've got healthy boundaries in place. I mean, lots of people might think, well, what's she doing a video about this for? I know about this. Well, a lot of people don't know about it. And to be honest with you, you might have heard this 100 times before, might have gone in one ear and out the other. But sometimes you need to hear something from certain people for it to sink in. You think, actually, yes, I get what she's saying. And just one last thing I'll just say is, I read this thing on the internet a little while ago, about a few years ago now. It was about basically the way that rich people think differently. Because people who generally are too nice, not only are giving away all our time, all our energy, but also probably giving away all our money. Not that I'm, and that sounds like, well, you shouldn't have any money. You should. No, actually, you've got to be aware that money comes in, money goes out. I'm not absolutely desperately bothered about money, but in the past, I suppose I haven't bothered about hanging on to it enough, because you just think, oh, it's only money. But actually, when you've got money in the bank, you feel a lot more secure. And I'm not talking about millions, but as long as you've got enough money to come in to pay the bills, that's fine. Nobody wants to feel in a situation where they're scratching about to pay the bills and have that stress, which a lot of us do have that stress. But it's about, I think it comes into all areas of your life. It's easy to budget if you've got a regular income, if you work a regular job. I found it quite difficult to budget myself because I've got a business and money comes in, money goes out. You have to be overdrawn sometimes. So it's harder to get those things in place. But actually, it's a fact. It's all about energy management. It doesn't matter whether we're talking about your time, whether you're talking about your money, whether you're talking about doing stuff for people, which I suppose comes under time. It's not wrong to think about yourself. And did I say I read about this thing about 15 ways that rich people think differently? And they think being selfish is actually a virtue. They think being selfish is a virtue because they think if they've looked after themselves, then you won't have to worry about them. And I read these 15 ways that, you can Google it, 15 ways that rich people think differently. And, I suppose we need balance. I'm not saying, go turn into a complete, selfish bastard who's got millions in the bank and never gives anything away. But also, you can't completely deplete yourself till you've ended up giving everything away and you don't value yourself. As with everything, it's about boundaries, isn't it? And striking the middle ground. And really giving yourself permission to think, actually, I am going to look after myself. Because when you have taken the time to do what you want to do, to look after yourself, you're in a better frame of mind. And that way you're going to be more accommodating, more genuinely present for people if you do want to help them or listen to them or whatever. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying turn into a complete bitch. I'm just saying that the lesson I've learned for myself over the whole time that I've not been on YouTube doing videos like this is that it's not wrong to think about yourself, and be grateful, get yourself into alignment. There's so many weather events going on in the world, particularly rain weather events. There's so many people being flooded out, earthquaked out, mudslided out and everything else, that frankly, you know, if you're living in a clean, dry, warm house, then you're very lucky. So think positive thoughts, because if you start thinking doomy thoughts, you'll go downhill. And we are all connected, you know, energetically. How you are affects the people around you, and then that'll affect the people around them. So in a way, it's right, you know. If we look after ourselves and get ourselves up, we'll be better placed to influence energetically the people around us, and we're actually doing the whole planet much more of a service than if we're just running around like Mother Teresa, trying to help this person, trying to help that person, because actually you don't get thought of. All that happens then is you get completely depleted and people think you're a mug. So, yeah, that's my message, folks, and I'll shut up now because I've probably offered on enough. So hopefully I'll get this uploaded and I might do some more videos. Thanks then, bye.